Lord Pearson has been a vocal critic of the Islamic ideology, and he's repeatedly used his seat in the House of Lords to question the government on their reluctance to tackle the social and the political issues surrounding the religion. He is a life peer who entered the UK Parliament's House of Lords for his anti-corruption stance against the insurance industry. He's done extensive work campaigning and fundraising for people with learning difficulties, and he's the co-founder of a pro-free trade think tank. Following the exposure of another Rotherham-scale grooming gang scandal, he took the opportunity to once again question the government on what they intend to do about the problem of Muslim grooming gangs.
We seem to be looking at millions of rapes of white and Sikh girls by Muslim men, only 222 of whom have been convicted since 2005. So, my lords, will the government ask our Muslim leaders whether the perpetrators can claim that their behaviour is sanctioned in the Quran, and to issue a fatwa against it? Can we talk about Islam without being accused of hate crime?
I was in the House of Lords to witness the political establishment's response to his questions. So I've sat down afterwards with him to talk in more detail about what needs to be done to tackle the problems Islamic immigration has brought to the UK. So Lord Pearson, you're one of the only voices in the House of Lords who I've ever seen talk about Islam. Why do you think so few people are talking about the Islamisation of Britain?
Well, remember, the House of Lords, is a very Europhile place, but of course it's also a very Islamophile place. The people in the House of Lords are completely out of touch with what I call real people. They call them ordinary people, but with real people and the sort of lives they have to lead. In this instance, because of the encroachment of Islam on our culture and civilization. And they're out of touch with it. We are, on the whole, a very tolerant nation and all the rest of it. And they see the vast majority of Muslims as nice, peaceful people at the moment. And they find it very hard to think that they can have anything to do with the Islamists and the grooming gang people and all the rest of it. So they just shut their minds off. And anyone who tries to talk about it is immediately accused of hate crime.
That's what I want to ask you next. When you've tried to raise the issue, what sort of reaction have you had?
Well, the reaction is very negative. It's even been said that I shouldn't be allowed to ask these questions in the House of Lords, that I'm endangering the security of the Palace of Westminster by asking these questions, because I've asked lots over the years and things. And sorry,
so they've said by you asking questions,
yeah,
simply about Islam, you're endangering the security of the palace.
Yeah, that has been said.
So because of that, you should not ask questions.
Well, that's sort of in the background, but the main criticism is that this is hate crime. As soon as you can say what you like about Christianity, you can say what you like about the virgin birth, the miracles, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and nobody gives a damn, quite frankly. You certainly don't get the bishops jumping up and down, or anyone. You can say what you like about the Hindu gods, you can say, but as soon as you touch Islam and you begin to wonder whether Muhammad was such a peaceful person, character, peace be upon him, and as soon as you begin to look into the history of the thing a bit, all hell breaks loose, and you're completely ostracized and everyone's very angry with you, which is what I want to do. I want the whole of this thing to start. We've got to start talking about Islam. Perhaps, for instance, the three absolute basic tenets of Islam, which are difficult words, so I hope people aren't too bored, but one of them is abrogation or cancellation, whereby the later violent verses of the Quran, the verses of the sword, cancel the earlier ones.
The peaceful ones.
The peaceful ones, yeah, of which there are very few. But anyway, and then the next one, I think, would be that people have got to understand, or at least let's talk about it. I just want to talk about it. I'm not an expert. Would be taqiyya, which is the example of the Prophet Muhammad after he moved to Medina in 622 from Mecca, and he gradually expanded his religion and became so powerful that in the end he could say to his multicultural, multi-faith hosts in Medina, look, either you join my religion or you go into exile, or I'll allow some of you to pay a tax, but I'm going to kill the rest of you if you don't join. And he killed 600 Jews in one afternoon. And Islam then went on to conquer most of the known world. And the Crusades were clearly, historically, a response to 400 years of Muslim aggression. And yet we're told that this is a religion of peace. I don't know, is it? But let's talk about it.
So do you think it's a lack of knowledge on behalf of people within the establishment?
Yeah.
Or do you think they're aware of the problem, but they don't know how to deal with it?
It is so obvious to them that Islam must be a religion of peace that they are not prepared to look at whether it might not be, or whether at least the jihadists and the terrorists and the grooming gang people can use what is in the Quran, which is why I asked for a conference on the interpretation of the Quran. It is all there in black and white, and how do we get rid of it? How do we say it's not there? Well, we have to talk about it, and they have to say that. The Muslims have to set up a great conference, a council, and they could, our Muslim leaders can say, this grooming gang, we put a fatwa, anyone who does this grooming gang stuff is cast out of Islam. It's about the only thing these Islamists fear, is being cast out of Islam.
Why do you think, bearing in mind all the grooming gang scandals which you spoke about today, when we see reports that show complete police failures, government failures, social service failures, why do you think none of those people have been brought to justice? None of the people who facilitated and accommodated these rapes?
Because they would say that they avoided being guilty of racism. Racism is this blanket word which is chucked around, and as soon as you're accused of being a racist, those police people and the people who should, the police and the social workers, who now should be prosecuted, which is in my question, will all have believed that they couldn't do anything about this because of the sensitivities of the Muslim community. And if they did go into it, they would be accused of racism. And racism is idiotic in this context, because Islam is in every race on the planet. So it isn't racism, whatever else it is.
Just this week, we've seen two journalists. We've seen an American journalist detained and held for days and deported because she was coming to interview me. Yeah. We've seen a Canadian journalist who's just been refused entry and deported today as well. Where do you see this where do you see the government response and the establishment response? Where do you see this heading?
Well, unless we can somehow start being allowed to talk about Islam, that's the first step. If we can talk about it and understand it, then we might get somewhere with persuading the people who treat you as they do, and I think it will get worse. And you have been a naughty boy, Tommy, in the past. You have quite often been a naughty boy. And so, in a way, then it's sort of made easier for them to demonize you. But anyone who read your book, Enemy of the State, I think would take a different view of you. Yeah. But they don't bother to read that. Of course they don't. It's a sort of blanket establishment position that isn't going to look at anything smelly down there. That's what it is.
What do you think it's going to take for the people in Westminster to wake up to what's happening?
Well, they won't wake up until it's too late, because I think we're on our way to riots. I would have thought we're on with the frustration which is growing from principally the white working class, who've had to put up with all the discrimination against them, the schools, the housing lists, etc. I don't know, the police not arresting a Muslim man in a beard not on a handheld thing while driving a car. I mean, masses of it. They have to put up with that. But these people, we don't have to. We sit there in our gilded chamber and we couldn't give a damn. The Archbishop of Canterbury did actually say, we will never deal with Islamism and come with Islamism unless we understand Islam. He said it is very unhelpful if we go on pretending that ISIS has nothing to do with Islam. And he also said it's time for our religious leaders to stand up and be counted. Now, he said that the September before last, and it's got nowhere. I don't think he's going to say it again.
Is it a lonely voice? If I'm honest, you're the only person I've seen within the political spectrum that wants to talk about Islam.
No, I think I'm the only member of either House of Parliament since I think it was 1923, when Churchill talked about Mohammedans in a fairly objective fashion. Okay.
Well, and why do you think that is?
Because what I've been telling you, because they just cannot bring themselves to dare to look at what this thing might really be.
Because they won't know what to do with it.
They wouldn't know what to do with it, no. And
If they accept the reality of what we know.
Well, yes, I mean, they'd have to do all sorts of things. I think first of all, you'd have to begin to learn what's going on in our mosques, the sermons. I mean, I personally would require every sermon to be made in English so that we could understand it. I would think we should be told, or we should be able to find out what is going on in our madrasas. But we can't, because I asked a question of the government the other day, and they admitted, no, we don't even really know how many madrasas there are. We certainly don't know what's going on in them, and what's more, we couldn't care less.
Last weekend, when a couple tried to fly into the UK, we had Martin Selner and Brittany Pettibone. We're seeing this growing and growing and growing. Anyone who has a political opinion or voices their concerns of Islam seem to be getting the full weight of the state. We've just seen, again, 2 days ago, we've seen Lauren Southern, who's a Canadian journalist, and the reason they gave her why she's now banned from the UK was the installation of blasphemy laws, medieval blasphemy laws, because she criticises Islam. Where do you see that taking us?
Well, it's taking us down the road to fascism, clearly, because it's one of the hallmarks of fascism. And I mean, we've been doing this in the Lords too. I mean, it seems that the Crown Prosecution Service has abrogated to itself powers of arrest under hate crime, which are not actually supported in statute. And Lord Vincent, who's a colleague of mine, he raised this in an oral question in the Lords on the 5th of December last year, and the government was, shilly-shallying around and avoiding the question. So I got up and simply said, could they be absolutely precise? Could they assure us that a Christian preacher who was preaching the divinity of Christ as superior to any other religion, and that Jesus was the only Son of the one true God, I said, if someone gets on there, can the minister guarantee that he won't be arrested for hate crime? She refused to answer the question.
Because she can't, because under the new hate crime laws, if someone feels offended.
My question today could well be hate crime outside, but I spoke under privilege in the laws. They can't arrest me for what I said in that. They can arrest me for what I say here. And I don't care if they do. It should, they don't seem to. In Islam, we're dealing with something vibrant and alive. Just look at the mosques on a Friday. Look at the Church of England on a Sunday. I mean, come on. You should see that this thing's coming. It means business.
I agree. It's scary times ahead. Dark times ahead. But thanks.
Not at all. Thank you very much, Tommy. Be good, huh?
I'll be good. I will.
Make sure that goes on. Be good. You're not to be naughty anymore. Because I'm saying, yes, Tommy was a bit of a naughty boy, but now he's going straight, and he's right.
I just want to say a personal thank you to every single person who supported me. I couldn't bring you these videos without your support. We have no big funders, no big donators. So this is literally by you, for you. So I want to say a personal thank you. And if anyone else wants to keep up to date with what we're doing, we've got plenty of exciting things coming up now. I've gone independent. You can do so at tommyrobinson.online. Thank you.